Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. This week's topic chosen by Chad.
Did you have to think about it?
Yes, because I forgot that we weren't doing the other one for a split second.
Okay. Well, but you paused on who came up with it. So,
It's because I was looking at both of you going, now, which one of them said the topic and which topic was it? And then I remembered.
uh,
He's he's also was distracted by the fact that I'm in this asylum this week.
No, that's not distracting. That's kind of, what's the word? Reassuring. The system works.
I will get out of here and I will find you.
The system is broken, Chad. The system is broken. All right, Chad. I will give some examples if you'll talk
Hold
about the
on,
topic.
hold on real
What?
quick. I'm guarded by Phil Tippett. That's going to tell you how this is going to go.
I'm
sorry.
going to open up my Hershey bar and wait for you to
You
talk.
go ahead. So, yeah, I came up with this on a fly. We do we do a
An
smaller
actual
segment.
little fly?
Yeah, we do a small segment for our friends at Good Movie Monday, um, every week, and I was like, well, let's do a small segment on what we think are the best mask in movie in cinema history. And then we realized, oh, we can do an expanded version of this and talk about what we think are some of the best masks in cinema.
A whole new
Well,
world.
well, and not just cinema, right?
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
televisions.
yeah.
James will talk about probably a couple of books that snooze everybody to death.
And you can't see the mask because they're not a pop-up book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, some of the
Listen,
ones, now, let me go before you start. Let me acknowledge that some of the ones that we're going to talk about are probably going to be a little more obscure. Now, I know Barbara loves Ghostface mask and everyone else does. We're not going to talk about that. We're
no,
not
we're
going to
going to
talk
spend
about
the entire
Leatherface.
episode talking about that scary face mask, which is way better than
I
Ghostface.
think
A scary movie mask. Sorry.
other
Yeah.
than I think only out of the ones I came up with, only really one you can consider a horror film.
Well, that's good because another one, another famous one's Leatherface. The Jason one is completely the hockey mask. It just, these are pop culture icons. Some people, once again, like Frankenstein, may not have ever seen Frankenstein, but you know that's Frankenstein. You may have never seen an actual Friday the 13th film, but you know that's Jason
Mm-hmm.
from The Mask. So now, which one of you wants to go first?
James.
I can start. So I'll do the one I did for Good Movie Monday, which you should still watch their show. You can just fast forward past me. But actually, I thought of Rorschach from Watchmen, the way the mask works, and Jackie Earl
Earl
Haley.
Paley.
Earl Paley.
Yeah,
I
him
like
too.
it.
He plays him in the film, but it's also the graphic novel, Alan Moore, the great Alan Moore, though he distances himself from the film. But Rorschach's just a fascinating character. And he really is a character that is not, he's definitely not a hero. He's probably one of the better anti-heroes because he has that great speech where, these the pimps and the whores and the blah blah blah. And he goes on and on. He goes, we'll look up and say, please save us. And I'll whisper back, no. And he's a fascinating character. And if you've seen Watchmen or read the graphic novel, you know what happens to Rorschach. Like he pieces everything together and then he just can't live in that world. And you could argue he never belonged in that world. He didn't fit in. He was not overly heroic. He's not a villain. He's to put it in more of a quote unquote mainstream comics things, he's somewhere maybe like the Punisher or like the Shadow,
He's a
but he
flawed
doesn't fit.
person. He's just a person. He's a
Yeah,
he's the most three-dimensional character in the movie.
but he has one of the yeah, he had one of the best scenes in the comic and the movie where, eventually he's not because he's not a superhero. He doesn't have any powers that makes him phenomenal. He gets arrested. And there's that great scene where they're throwing him in prison and he has that thing where, because all these criminals he helped put there can kill him. And he has that great scene. You're not, or I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. And so he's unhinged. He's not well. And Watchmen does that really well. Watchmen has a bunch of characters that are unhinged and not well. And probably the only thing that I'll hold up equal to the Watchmen as building a comic book type universe that actually has villains and heroes that seem like they could actually exist in our world would probably be The Boys.
Yeah.
Like this idea of somewhere between Watchmen and The Boys is probably the reality we would actually get.
Yeah.
You would
I
either,
agree.
they would either be corporate or they would be unhinged. You
Or
know,
corporate. Probably, I don't know. I
both.
think The Boys is both. They're corporate and
Yeah,
hinged.
yeah.
I mean,
And
those people
so,
who think Homelander's the hero.
yeah. And so I think but no, Rorschach is just a fascinating character, and his mask is part of the story, right? It's part of the character, and so he's the one that came to mind because he's not Rorschach without the mask. I mean, he is, but there's something about when he puts on that mask and it's constantly shifting the way his mind works, the way it's just such a great character to see. And that mask makes it, I mean, obviously it's a Rorschach test, right? It's a mask
Mhm.
itself, but it's just a great visual element in both the graphic novel and in the movie. And again, Jackie Earle Haley plays it like I assumed the comic was. So it's perfect.
Yeah, the movie is completely miscast except for Jackie Earle Haley. I don't even think that changing or anything that Zack Snyder did is all that awful, even some of the things he changed, as much as I just think the movie isn't bad. It's just some
Yeah, I will say this: the only time I've come to realize with that movie, it's not a bad movie.
no.
I can definitely say out of all of the Zack Snyder catalog, that's one of two and a half movies that isn't bad. But
300 and Dawn of the Dead.
yep, those would be the others. Um, but I have gone back and like when I first saw it, I thought, wow, this is great. But after previous viewings, I realized the only reason I go back and watch it is Jackie Earle Haley. Honestly, that's the only reason I watch it.
I would add the soundtrack's really good. Like they picked the music for that soundtrack really well.
It's been a
Yeah, but you
while
know
since
me,
I've
I'm not
seen
a
it.
music person, but I just go to see Earl Haley's performance. I actually really enjoy it. That's why I've gone back and watched it multiple times.
It's also why you watch Bad News Bears on loop.
I didn't know that.
Which version?
The one with Jackie Earle Haley in it.
Yep.
I mean,
Go dead
I
air.
mean, I mean, I don't know
Just
where you wanted me to go with that, Jack.
all right, James. Who's your pick? That is your
James.
pick. Who's is it? James? Who's next?
No,
Chad?
yeah, I said I can go or you can go. Who you want to go? Me?
Yeah.
So I'll briefly mention because I actually have a list now. Um, I'll briefly mention that I talked about what I think is honestly one of the most insidious masks in cinema history that doesn't get talked about enough, and that is Decker's mask in Nightbreed. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just because of its simplicity. I mean, it's basically kind of like what would you guys say? Kind of like a leatherish canvas mask
Yes.
with two little buttons for eyes, which I still don't understand how he sees out of it. And then the
Okay.
mask is kind of stretched over to the right where it just is, it distorts his face. And then there's a zipper for a mouth, and that's how he talks. But it's also David Cronenberg's deadpan delivery inside of the mask that makes it even more creepy. And when he goes full on psycho, when he goes to kill, it adds more creepiness to it. I mean, it's just the mask itself, but David Cronenberg's just enhances it. And the final ending to that, it makes that makes that mask iconic to me. Is that ending scene with the movie? And if you haven't seen Nightbreed, in my opinion, it's one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and it still holds up for the most part.
Do you think so?
Yeah,
I'm not being a jerk. The last
I
time I
mean,
watched it, it was kind of hard. There's glimpses of brilliance and there's a little bit of
that's the problem. That's why I'm
it's
saying
a
almost.
extremely uneven movie.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying almost, because now that I'm older, I see those flaws, but because I held it in such high regard as a kid, I can look past them. Same way as I can look past Goonies and you can't.
It's
Uh,
tough.
um,
I
I know,
enjoy scenes in it, but every time I'm like, no, that didn't even I know.
I know,
But
but Nightbreed, and part of what made Nightbreed for me, not only was it the creatures, but it was Decker in that mask, and I still think about that mask from time to time. So yeah, that was my pick from Good Movie Monday. So I'll move on I'll let Joe go, but I have a list that I'll talk about later on. I have other ones I could talk about.
Okay. My pick for Good Movie Monday were horror film ones, but in all sincerity, one of my favorite masks, and it's a little too popular, but I still want to do it, and I don't know if one of you all is going to do it. Is the Guy Fawkes mask from
It was on my list
Vendetta.
because it had to be on the list.
It's from V for Vendetta, which is another comic book adaptation.
Alan Moore
A-
again.
Alan Moore, and it's a fantastic book. It's a really good movie too. That's another movie I haven't watched in over a decade, I'm sure.
You know, it's kind of funny, and this actually didn't inspire this at all. I'm actually watching it now.
How is it?
It's still amazing.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's another one where, well, actually, I think Natalie Portman's good in that.
Oh yeah.
Everybody's good in that.
Yeah, but oh my God, but let you talk about an actor like having literally there's nothing to show
But he
what
pulls it
he's
off.
doing. But Hugo Weaving,
It's so good.
oh my God, that's one of the reasons why he's one of my top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, he's phenomenal.
Yeah, and he's great as Redman as
And a portion of his genes gave us Samara Weaving.
Red Skull. He's also great as Red Skull. Always
Oh my
sad
God,
that they didn't bring him back.
Yeah, no, me too. Well, he
But
didn't want to do it. That's why that's not him in the Avengers.
is there a reason why he didn't want to do it?
He was
He
done
was-
with it. Right,
well,
James?
no, that, and they wouldn't wait because he was doing something on Broad, because the reason also he didn't come back as Agent Smith in the last Matrix movie, he had committed to something on not Broadway, sorry, on the West End.
Mhm.
Which I'm sure he
And
didn't regret that.
no, and that's his thing is he said if they would have been willing, I think in the case, the Matrix story I know because I just read it a couple days ago because somebody did say, why didn't he come back? And he told, was it,
Lana.
yeah, Lana Wachowski, he said, if you can give me an extra 3 weeks past the date that you wanted, if you'll delay 3 weeks, I'll come back. I'll do it, because it wasn't going to be a 15-week shoot. But he said they didn't want to wait. So I said no.
Yeah.
And if he's
Well-
committed to Broadway or the West End or what have you, he honors that, which I kind of respect.
Well, he's an actor.
Yeah.
The guy, V for Vendetta was not directed by the Wachowskis, but it's produced by the Wachowskis and written by the Wachowskis. And
It was directed by James McTeague, right?
yeah, James McTeague. And it's a good movie, as I recall. Like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time. And The Mask has not left pop culture. Now, it's not as ubiquitous as, the Scream mask, but it is.
It has
shows up
taken
in
on-
protests all over.
It has taken on a new meaning all of its
Well,
own.
and
Mhm.
people that had no idea what Guy Fawkes Day was, right?
Right.
Right.
I mean, a lot of Americans didn't know about Guy Fawkes.
I didn't know
Remember
about Guy
the 5th
Fawkes
of
that well,
November
because
for many.
they don't teach that in Eastern Kentucky in history.
No,
Right.
I only knew about it because I read books. But the point being,
Well, if I ever saw a book, I would burn it.
yeah, maybe if you tried reading them instead of burning them. But
Burn it.
whatever. But yeah. No, I agree.
Okay. Who's next?
That would be James.
Oh, is it me again?
Yes.
Are we doing this? I'm gonna go with one that's a mask without a mask, I guess technically, because he does have powers. But I think the look is so iconic with this character. And that's the Shadow, right? The classic, the big slouch hat, and then the red thing over the face. But he also has the ability to cloud men's minds, so he disguises. He makes himself look different.
He gives himself a big nose.
Yeah, well,
It's
and
funny.
the heavy eyebrows. That, like, if you
Yeah.
actually look at the comic, he does more. But I think that look, that the red over the face, it's such an iconic look that has been linked to a character that started off on radio, right?
Mhm.
And it's just always been the look. And even when he's been adapted to comics, there was a great run that was meant for mature audiences in the 80s, which I loved. It was my first comic book exposure to the Shadow. I'd listened to some of the old radio programs, but I mean, the fact that that look still holds up,
Mhm.
and it's just a classic look for a comic series. I still love The Shadow to this day.
I do too.
I'll defend the Alec Baldwin movie. It's not exactly what I want it to be, but I have fun every time I watch it. Um, but I love the Shadow as a character. Every blue moon, somebody says, "Oh, they're working on another Shadow movie," and there's been more directors and screenwriters attached to that I would love to have seen that's never happened yet. I think eventually it will. It'll just come
And like I
together.
said, we got if it wasn't for the Shadow, we wouldn't have got Darkman.
It's true.
So, but no, yeah, I too love the Shadow. What's cool is you can actually find
Well, the
old,
Shadow knows.
yeah, and you can actually find old episodes of the Shadow through that you can download for your phone. And I actually enjoyed listening to him, the old Orson Welles Shadow radio program. They're still great.
You know
Just
who else did
remember.
it?
Go ahead.
You know who else did it? Chad.
Mm,
Vincent Price.
yes.
Sounds-
Oh yeah,
sounds-
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were gonna.
No, who did you think I was going to say?
I
No,
don't know. I thought you were gonna throw me for a loop.
Molly McGuire did it, Chad. Molly McGuire. Ignore the fact that that's a coal mining term. Just it was Molly McGuire.
It's me.
No, it's me.
Oh, okay.
You're the one that
Listen.
messed up the order.
No, Taylor Swift. It's you. You're the problem. It's you.
Oh, guys.
Yeah.
You know, I always got to throw a curveball at you.
No.
You don't have to, Chad. You
Oh, but I'm
don't have
gonna.
to.
I'm gonna. Because it still is a cool mask.
Mhm.
1974's Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good one. That's a really good pick.
Yeah. If you don't know this
I
movie,
need to stop being fucking nice to you.
I know it's weird. It's sending shivers up my spine.
Well, it should.
Um,
They're multiplying.
So
Losing control.
if you don't know Phantom of the Paradise, it is one of those very unique gems.
Dude, it is batshit nuts, directed by
Yes.
Brian De Palma. They have an actual festival for it in some city in Canada every year.
Yes. So and
People
it is
who love it,
yep. The mask is the character of the Phantom is played by William Finley. The mask itself is almost bird-like.
mm-hmm.
It's very overly enlarged. It curves into a beak. But he plays this phantom who he's a disfigured composer who sells his soul for the woman he loves so she can perform his music. But his music is stolen by an evil record tycoon played by
Paul Williams.
Paul Williams.
That son of a bitch. Little Enos.
And it's all about him trying to get his music back. But it is such a unique film.
Paul Williams is fantastic in that movie, by the way, as a villain.
Paul
that may
Williams
very well
honestly,
be one of his best performances.
yes. It is a very unique film, and you would never be able to guess it's directed by the famous Brian De Palma.
Well, they would because I told them earlier.
Yeah, because you just trampled over my segment, but that's okay.
You did it to me earlier when you just screamed for 4 hours that I had taken your pick.
Because you did.
Kids, you're both terrible.
That's not true. He's just half terrible. He's not even a full. He's a half talent terrible.
I'm like 1/4.
That obscure joke
Well, hold
insult
on,
was just for James Thomas.
Yeah, it was.
I'm
have talents.
Yeah, I'm terrible at geography. Is
Yeah.
1/8 more than 1/4?
Maybe.
Okay.
You asked the
I'm
wrong
1/8
bonehead.
terrible.
You asked the wrong bonehead.
But no, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just if you were going to talk about, it's a rock opera, Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. And there's a lot of there's like, isn't there like if I'm not mistaken, isn't there like a riff on Kiss in that movie at one point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great character actors in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, oh god, they're like Garrett Graham from
Yep.
Used Cars fame.
Mhm. And Chud too, Bud the Chud.
Oh, he's in it.
He's in Chud
Oh,
too.
oh, forgot. Oh, yeah, I forgot he's in it. Yeah, there's a ton. Yeah, there's a ton. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah,
And
it's
see,
a
just
it's a
seeing. Go ahead.
sorry. No, it's a fascinating movie. And people love it. I know Del Toro loves it. There's so many people that love it. I haven't seen it in a long time. Even when I watched it the first time, it's such a bizarre movie.
Yes.
I don't even know how it got made. I watched the De Palma documentary of him talking about it, and I still don't know how he got it made.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's bizarre. And I'll be honest with you, I just remembered The Mask. That's why I pulled it up. It's been so long since I've seen it. I don't know if I could tell you scenes in it. That's why I'm struggling. I'm glad Joe remembers it because I was having trouble.
He's glad I remember, even though he's a half horrible person.
Remember, I'm 1/6 terrible.
Right. And that makes you 2/3 beautiful. Now,
Oh, you.
I'm joking.
I know you are.
That hat. Why is that bee fucking that ball?
It's a Hornet. It's the Charlotte Hornets
Why is it fucking a basketball?
because it's awesome.
Why do you draw so many dirty pictures?
It's
That, folks, was an obscure joke for the other two boneheads since I left Chad out of the other one. You're the one drawing all the dirty pictures on your hat, Chad. Now, I swear to God, I want to do something obscure. I did something really obscure for Good Movie Monday, but I didn't mention it earlier and I should have, but it is one of the best masks in film history. It's Darth Vader.
yeah.
What's better? What's more iconic?
Ow.
That's not a makeup.
You could say Jason Voorhees. You could say
Over Darth Vader.
You could say Michael Myers.
Over Darth Vader.
You could say
Hannibal Lecter.
the Ronald Reagan mask from Point Break.
Over Darth Vader.
Hold on. Let me just add, you can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay, or you can call me Ray J. Anyway, that was for 3 people on the planet.
Yeah.
3 people on the planet.
And none of them listen to us.
I'm not giving Disney any more props than I need to.
I'm just saying, guys, Darth Vader's mask is pretty memorable.
Yeah. There's no argument I can give you.
I mean, and if you go through, if you're a Star Wars historian, yes, James.
I've got a question about that, though.
I'm going to talk about Ralph McQuarrie, but keep going.
If you didn't have the rest of the ensemble.
Well, yeah, he just walked out in a pair of
That's what I mean.
beater.
and the mask. So I'm saying,
Just
can
the
you
mask
picture that?
a
It
different
doesn't
movie.
work, right? It doesn't. You need the complete ensemble.
But-
Because I've seen my kids in just a Darth Vader mask, and I'm gonna be honest with Joe, I was intimidated for a minute. I was not sold.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to make a joke and I realized you were talking about your kids. So it also, great artist, Ralph McQuarrie. If you've never looked up any of the actual art that he did pre-production for Star Wars, you really should. I have some of it here at the house. I'd be more than happy to invite you over if you give me money. And I will show you some of it. But also, Chad, if we don't have Darth Vader, you don't have the second greatest solid black helmet of all time. Dark helmet.
I know. You can't argue.
And what
that.
would you do without Dark helmet, Chad? You'd blow your goddamn brains out. That's what you do, Chad. That one.
I know we wouldn't at least have one decent Star Wars film if we didn't have Spaceballs.
That went dark.
Like the helmet.
With his brains in it. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I was trying not to pull one, but I was sitting here going, do I really want to talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 that I did as a joke for the other one? Or do I really want to talk, or do I want to actually talk about things that are important to me? And Darth Vader is important to me. I mean, I didn't have I probably had slightly more friends than the other two boneheads growing up, but I wasn't.
Thanks for
And
reminding us.
no, I'm just being. Wanted to make sure that everyone knew just how miserable you both were, and I did not have the happiest of childhoods, and
Thank you
never
for putting
felt.
that. Thank you for putting that in past tense. That helped.
Yeah, yeah, both were. You're so happy now. Look at you.
Thrilled,
Look at
thrilled,
you.
thrilled every day.
Look at
just
I'm
you.
so glad I have this picture of all
That
three of
gun
us.
that you can't afford to blow your brains out with. I come over
No.
borrow one of Dad's.
I look at this picture of all three of us, of me. There's James. There's that burnt hole that used to be Joe.
Yeah, that's actually me in real life. And it just happens if you leave me in pictures, it tends to just burn like those things of Satan or where it burns on the Ark of the Covenant, where it burned out the Nazi symbol.
yeah.
So it's important to me. Star Wars is important to me. It's not, I don't worship it like I did at 10 or 8 or 6, but at the same time,
No,
it is
he
part of
worships
me
it
growing
much
up.
harder now that he has money.
If I worshipped it harder, I would have paid it. I would have pulled one of the Brandon Griffiths and dropped about $1,000 on one of those lightsabers. I
Yeah.
have yet to do that. I did drop a lot
I'd
of money on a
say,
proton pack though, James. So let's keep on. Let's
Yeah,
not talk
yeah.
about Ghostbusters, James. Let's not talk about Ghostbusters.
good
So
example.
yeah, Darth Vader, man. It's just I truly got upset when I first saw Return of the Jedi because I didn't want him to die. Which is fucked up. You're not probably another reason why I'm such a jacked up human being, but he is my favorite character in Star Wars.
But at the same
Until they
time,
made the prequels.
which now people love.
I know.
They
That's
better
because they've grown
no.
up. They saw them as children and they've grown up.
Yeah, that's it.
There's a lot of the kids, Chad. They do. They re-released episode 1, what, 2-3 weeks ago? It was in the top 10 box office.
I know. I
Yep.
saw that. It's disgusting.
I don't
But
know. It's disgusting. There's two people I'm now going to take it easy on. One is George Lucas, and the other one, oddly enough, and I was going to say it earlier because I saw an interview because he's out promoting that new Alien movie, the sequel to the one where it's the second chapter, but Zack Snyder, and we've shit on Zack Snyder for years. I don't disagree with my critiques of his movies, but I was watching 2 or 3 of his interviews, listening to him, and I was like, yeah, the dude's infectious. I'd probably been like, yeah, let's go make that movie. Oh, Jesus, this sucks. But I would have been around it. He seems very likable and fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah, no, I mean Jack the Ripper may have been a hoot, but I don't know if I'd give him my wife.
Well, he
Yeah.
might not have asked for, could have asked.
Wait, who would you give your wife to?
Who hasn't he?
Obviously not Jack the Ripper. That was the point, Chad. I'm not going to go through a list.
They are swingers, which means to swing.
I would not give her to Mother Teresa either, though, because if you look into that full history of her, she's
Oh,
complicated.
she's awful.
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot going on there. Anyway,
All right, who's next?
is it me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you. We're waiting.
You're last. This is the
I'm-
3rd round.
Oh, is it?
Oh
we did.
yeah, I could go 4 though if we
I
want to.
Well, we'll see. I don't
Well,
know that I'm going to go for it, but you all.
I'm going to go with one that the mask is not there too long in the film, but it is so iconic with the character. And that would be I guess, I don't know what else to call it, but maybe a bike guard for Hannibal Lecter.
I said it earlier. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but I think what's funny is
Hannibal Lecter.
he's a hoot, man. Can you imagine eating people? I bet they're delicious. Anyway, he doesn't, it's not in the Hannibal movie. It's not in Red Dragon. Maybe at the end, I don't remember. But the point is, it's really only in a few scenes.
Yeah, it's in the Hannibal movie, but it's because Mason Verger has bought it because he collects all the Hannibal memorabilia.
That's right.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to be a dick today.
No, you're absolutely right.
But I love
right. I'm
Tom.
glad
I
you-
love though. Out of the 3, I'm the one who loves those books.
Mhm. Yeah, that you have me beat on that book series.
I love those books. I
mean,
actually liked the Hannibal book. I was
this
pissed
is a
they changed
this
the ending.
this is a callback for only two people, and only one of them's going to hear it, and that's Joe. I mean, I'm more of a Star Wars fan because I've read some books, but the point being, um,
Such a fist fight.
I I
Bastard has my old job now.
I love actually I do love the Lando series, the old one they did in the early '80s, the Lando books. I love that series. I'd read that again, man. Anyway, the point being though, but I think that's a mask that's so iconic. Like if I had actually during the COVIDs, I had a mask that was made to look like that, like a guard,
Yeah.
you know. And it was so funny because my dentist, before I ever found it, when COVID was first starting, actually the last time I saw my dentist was right before they started to shut everything down. Not my dentist, my doctor, my normal doctor. I'm sorry, I said dentist. And he made the comment, he goes, I need to find one of those that looks like the Hannibal mask. And then I found one online and I was like, I'm gonna order it just to have it because it's so, but again, you look at it and it's Hannibal Lecter. Like if you saw one on anybody else, you'd think, oh, they're doing an homage to Hannibal Lecter. That's a good use of a mask. You have done something in your film that becomes so tied to that representation. So that's one that came to mind when we were talking about mask. I'm like, it's like I was saying, and thank you for correcting me because I do appreciate that actually. But it's not like he's in it all the time.
No, no, no.
And it's not like it's used to unveil his identity. It's not like a mask where they don't Scooby Doo it. It's like, oh, it was Hannibal Lecter.
No,
But
no, it just pans over and there it is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so it becomes, but that it becomes an iconic part of it. And so that's the mask that I had to mention. I had to
Oh,
mention
excuse
the
me.
Hannibal Lecter mask.
Chad, go.
So a mask that was iconic to me as a kid and has, I think, remained iconic in cinema history to this day. Predator.
Okay, so it's on a lot of the lists.
Okay.
And the reason I didn't pick it, even though I love it, I agree with you. Is it a mask or is it a full makeup?
No, it's a the mask, not the
Not his
alien,
face.
is the mask that he wears over it. The helmet.
Okay.
It's a mask. He
Okay.
has a mask over his face.
I know what you're yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
It has the dreadlocks,
Mhm.
the metal, the spikes, the little the blank eye holes that you have no idea what emotions he's doing, but you just
Mhm.
know you see that metal mask. When you see that metal mask, you're dead. There is no question. And that's what I think terrifies you. Is
Unless
it
you're
when you
Arnold Schwarzenegger and figure out that you can roll around in mud, but sure,
s-
Chad. Or you're Danny Glover. Oh yeah, sure, Chad. Or
Oh
you're
wait.
Adrian. Hold on, let me go down the list of everybody who beat the fucking Predators. Or you're that one guy in that The Predator movie that I can't remember the actor's name.
The pianist. You're
Adrian
Now,
Brody.
Adrian Brody is who I was going to say. No, the one that's directed and written by Shane Black.
Or the Indigenous American woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one though.
But
Praise a good,
that's not the
praise a
actual
good Predator.
that's not the real Predator. That's Predator Generation 1.
I actually kind of like the mask and Predator Generation
See,
1 pretty
I
much.
didn't like Prey. I didn't like the Mask and Prey. I didn't care for it.
I like Prey a lot. I like that a lot.
I'm not saying I didn't like Prey. I just didn't like the Mask and Prey. And I actually didn't like their version of the alien. It seemed like the one thing that I'll say about the Predator and Prey is it almost seemed like a J.J. Abrams creation, and that's why I didn't really care for it.
I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't remember that.
Yeah. It looked like the cross between it looked like a cross between the Cloverfield monster is what it looked like to me.
Hmm.
Um,
Tough but
but
fair.
uh, but yeah, I always when we were talking about Mask, of course Nightbreed Decker came up, um, and for some reason Phantom of the Paradise, but Predator was on my list. It's just too iconic in terms and also in terms of how it the way it was designed. I think it makes for a good character. It makes for a good it when you shoot it, you can shoot it anyway. It's going to be terrifying. So yeah, that's my pick. Predator.
All right. So technically, in this movie, the villain wears several different masks, and I wanted to do something a little older, but I love this movie so much. It's just such a crowd pleaser horror film. Is the grabber mask that Ethan Hawke wears in Black Mask
Hmm. I was gonna
or
say
the
that's a
Black
good
Phone? Why did I say Black Mask? In the Black Phone, it's uh, there's several different versions of different masks that he has on the wall. A little bit of the history of the one with the horns that everybody remembers that's on the thing on the poster was that Scott Derrickson and oh my goodness, I cannot remember the writer's name, the same guy. Oh, this so it's C Court. It's not C Courtney, but it's like that. Robert Cargill.
That
They
was nothing
actually
like Secor.
no, but it's C Robert. It's the thing he has in front of
Mm.
it, but it is they found them on the line and just bought the image from an artist, an online artist. And I always thought that was a really cool story. It's like I just randomly throw my shit up here, and all of a sudden this Hollywood director comes around and makes him kind of, you know, pays for it. And I don't know. It works really well. Ethan Hawke is fantastic in that movie. A lot of stuff back to what we were talking about, Hugo Weaving.
Honestly, what's the most terrifying version of that mask is when he's waiting at the top of the stairs and he has the frown. Oh,
That's
that terrifies me.
there's different versions, but I just love those masks and in the Black Phone. All right. Are we
I,
wrapping up?
I've got one more I
I've
want to
got
mention.
I've got one, and I've got a few honorable mentions.
I've
Okay.
got one I've got to mention because it's the only one, Joe, honestly, that I would hold up and say, if you're a fanboy across genres, I think it's the only one that might hold up against Darth Vader because Darth Vader's mask is necessary and it's so tied to his character.
Yeah.
The only other character that is on that level, and you may not be as big of a fan of the thing, but I would say there would be people out there that we would get unending crap if we didn't mention Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's on a ton of them. It's very
Doctor
iconic.
Doom. Well, and I didn't look at the list because Doctor Doom, if you're not familiar with Marvel Comics, Doctor Doom's mask is bound to his skin,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Doctor Doom, and I'm hopeful. I'm so hopeful that the MCU gets Doctor Doom right because
For once.
Doctor Doom honestly is the only person that can go toe to toe with Thanos. He can go because he doesn't just he uses science, he uses sorcery. He is, I mean, at one point he was rival to Doctor Strange for the Sorcerer Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
He is that good. And there's a great graphic novel where Doctor Doom actually agrees to team up with him because the backstory with Doctor Doom is he's a man of science, but his mother was a witch, and his mother is killed, and he discovers her stuff, and that's before he ever meets Reed Richards and gets feels he's betrayed and all that stuff. But what's really fascinating about that is, he's a ruler of a country. We in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we know, Black Panther rules Wakanda. Doctor Doom rules Latveria.
Mm-hmm.
And in his own country, he's seen as a great ruler because what does he do? He takes care of his people. He just hates people that get in his way. And he hates people that betray him. And he views the Fantastic Four as being part of that betrayal. But he in the graphic novel where he teams up with Doctor Strange, it's because he discovers using sorcery that his mother's soul effectively went to hell. And he goes to Doctor Strange and he goes, "You have to help me." And Doctor Strange actually said, she was killed wrongly. She doesn't deserve this. And they actually use sorcery to try to reclaim her soul from hell. And they fight Mephisto. And it's a great story that humanizes Doctor Strange. And I think that's why, much like you were saying with Darth Vader,
Mm-hmm.
when I was real young, it was easy to say Doctor Doom's the villain. As you get older, you start to realize maybe he's not. I mean, you wouldn't want him around.
Mm-hmm.
but he's a layered character. He's like Darth Vader in that way. And that once you hear his origin, you're like, well, why won't we just leave him alone? Like in the grand scheme of things, if you took away the Emperor, everything else, and Darth Vader just would have got to go off on his own, maybe it wouldn't be as bad. It's all the people that interact with it that makes it worse. And so Doctor Doom has a very iconic mask. It really hasn't been updated since the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an iconic, the hood, the mask, and it's the fact that you know underneath that that mask seared onto his face, so the skin is flaked onto it and burnt onto it. And it's a compelling thing because much like Darth Vader, it is to hide the wounds and the scars of what he has become. And it's a fascinating character. And so he would be the only one I could hold up um, where his background is so similar to Darth Vader. It's such a big part of pop culture. And like I said, he had the movies haven't done him justice yet, so moviegoers may not know it. But I think it's such an iconic character in pop culture that I had to mention Doctor Doom. Go ahead, Chad.
So mine is known in a certain in certain groups of movie fans, but I don't think it gets enough credit for just how effective of a mask it is. Frank the Rabbit from Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
It's basically so it's a gentleman wearing a rabbit suit, but the rabbit's face is kind of a metallic skull.
Why are you wearing that stupid rabbit suit?
Yes.
Why are you wearing that stupid human suit? It's a great
Which
scene.
I never realized Frank the Rabbit was it's so like oh guys, help me, the director's name.
Oh,
Oh, geez, I can't remember it now.
Yeah, I'm blanking. I should have looked it
Yeah,
up.
I'm blanking too. That's okay. Go ahead.
The so like most of the creators' movies, um his movies are kind of hard to follow along with.
Mm-hmm.
So I never realized Frank the Rabbit was the antagonist.
Richard Kelly.
Richard
Richard,
Kelly,
I didn't
thank
know
you.
that he's the antagonist either.
Yeah, I've read certain descriptions, and he's Frank the Rabbit is listed as the antagonist of the movie.
Hmm.
I mean, isn't time really the enemy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or that plane. I think the plane
Yeah.
is the antagonist.
I don't. Huh. I'd like to interview Richard Kelly. That's a guy that
Yeah.
that I have no idea what he does.
Listen, and we mentioned it before on the show because I enjoy the movie. It's weird as, but he also gave us Southland Tales, and one of my favorite quotable lines of all time. I'm a
Yeah.
pimp, and
Yeah.
pimps don't commit. Gave The Rock one of his early acting gigs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
But no, but yeah, just seeing Donnie Darko at the movie theater, and he turns around, and I think that's the first time you see Frank the Rabbit is in that movie theater, and Frank the Rabbit just turns around, and then there's that rabbit mask, and it just
Mm-hmm.
sends shivers up your spine because you're looking at this mask of pure terror, and Donnie Darko doesn't even flinch at it. And but it's just there, and he talks in such a monotone voice. It's creepy. So when you're talking about Mask, you have to talk about Frank the Rabbit, in my opinion. Go ahead, guys. Joe, you got one, or do you?
Yeah, I've got one more, and it's the one that James gave me earlier, and it's not necessarily, but there is a comic that I had as I didn't read a lot of comics when I was growing up. Actually, didn't have a lot of comics, didn't buy me a lot of comics, but one I have was from
Because
G.I.
you
Joe.
ate the pages.
Because I delicious shrink
They were
wrap.
poor, used them as toilet paper, never got to read them.
And yeah, not poor. And it explained G.I. Joe had taken Cobra Commander hostage, and it was somehow he had a little kind of a I hate saying this, but I don't mean it in a derogatory. I'm told that I can be a little blue, but it was like a little slit in the mask that rose up so he could take in food and water and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't see it; it turned around. But I was just as a child, just fascinated by that. And I'm still kind of fascinated about how Cobra Commander eats. I love the Cobra Commander mask. Chad was telling me earlier on the cartoon. It reminded me that there is a episode where Destro is it Destro walks
Yeah,
in and he's
Destro.
got the when he would wear the actual hood kind of thing over
Yeah.
instead of but the silver mask with the blue head. It's the one GI Joe I never really got the original Cobra Commander. I just love Cobra Commander. I love the way he looks. I love it. That's it.
In your honorable mentions, James, I got 2.
I mean, you did Phantom of the Paradise. I think, you know, if we're going to do full pop culture, the classic Phantom of the Opera mask probably
Yeah.
needs to be mentioned. I think that's one. I think, I mean, we could do an entire one on superheroes
Mm-hmm.
in general.
Yeah. That's
Uh,
why I didn't bring up. I'm only got one superhero on my list here.
the other one that I will mention is, I guess it's a genre of mask, and I hope I'm not stepping on any of yours, Chad, but if I am, screw you.
You're not.
Is the Lone Ranger type mask, because Robin wore that, you know,
Kato.
all the, yeah, Kato. And so that was an entire subgenre of mask. And I always thought,
Zorro.
yeah. Who was that disguise? He looked just like that guy that hangs around with that guy that's not Green Lantern, that seems to always be near the car that Green Lantern uses. But he couldn't be him because there was a thin layer of fabric around his eyes.
Wait, you dick. You said Green Lantern.
Oh, actually, Green Lantern has it's
Yeah.
the same style mask.
But Green Lantern doesn't have a car, so you meant to say Green Hornet. Don't try to cover yourself.
Hey, Green Lantern could have a car. Are you implying that Green Lantern can't drive? Why do you hate Green Lantern so much? Green Lantern, you Green Lantern bigot.
How dare you? I
Can't
know you
believe
Are you guys done?
don't take your hatred of Vincent Price out on me.
I will destroy what you love. Me and Green Lantern and Mr. Price will come to your house and stomp all over your tulips.
Uh,
Go ahead,
is that
Chad.
it? You good?
Yeah.
All right. So I got 2 real quick. The first one is honestly, I got to bring up Judge Dredd, and not the Sylvester Stallone, Carl Urban.
Well,
Because
the actual
Mhm.
Judge Dredd. I mean, not because Judge Dredd does not remove his mask.
he does not
That
remove
is
his
Judge
mask.
Dredd.
And so when you if you haven't, please watch the Carl Urban Judge Dredd, because Carl Urban is one of these actors who should receive all the awards.
Yes, agreed.
And he does such an iconic performance in that movie and never takes off his mask. All you see is his nose and his mouth, and that's all you need to see. But the mask itself is iconic. And then finally, honestly, guys, this one is great in its sheer simplicity. It's just a sheet with a hole, but the hole covers the true human, John Merrick, the Elephant Man.
There was
I
2 or
think-
3 ways you could have went with that.
I know. Yeah, when you think of mask, I think this is one that came off the top of my head, but I wanted to save it till last. It's just a sheet with a hole in it that John Merrick hid his grotesque face, so he wasn't ridiculed or terrified anybody, and it just had a hole for one eye so he could see, because that's all he never wanted anybody to see his true form, which was tragic in its way because he couldn't help what he was. So him walking around town with just a dirty sheet with a hole in it. So yeah, you had to talk about that. I feel like when we talk about Mask, in all seriousness, that one.
No.
The Elephant Man.
Yeah.
There's
And,
one
and
more.
it's and honestly, guys, and again, Joe's going to argue with me. It's still in my opinion, David Lynch's best film.
Real quick, I don't know if it's what Joe's going to bring up, and Joe, if it is, I apologize. But don't you think in an episode about Mask, we need to bring up the mask that's used in the movie Son of the Mask, which I think had a prequel, which is a mask.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a Son of the Mask reference. Pretend that I don't know about, the mask.
I liked Alan Cummings' Mask and Son of the Mask, but no, it's awful. That movie's awful. How dare you mention it? Smack yourself in the face.
I have never seen it. You guys are leaving out the greatest helmet mask of all time. And we're talking about 2001, 2002.
I'm ashamed of you.
Helmet, Sauron, and Lord of the Rings.
I'm ashamed of you.
Why?
Absolutely ashamed of you.
Nah, I don't care.
Because when you said helmet, I thought you were going to mention RoboCop, but you didn't.
RoboCop is on one of the lists, but okay. So I love RoboCop, but it takes a lot of liberties with Metropolis.
What does it have to do with the mask?
It looks like from Metropolis,
Yeah.
and I'm not. It works great, and
Well,
it's
you could have
its
said
own
that with
thing.
Darth Vader since George Lucas stole it from that 1930s
Yeah,
serial.
but Darth Vader doesn't look like as close.
Oh, have you, dude?
Ralph McQuarrie. You would have to show it to me. I don't know what you're talking about. That looks like Darth Vader.
Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, no. I just wanted to say Sauron's helmet with Lord of the Rings. I just think
It's good.
it looks fucking amazing. All right. This has been Bonehead Weekly Fun. No, this has just been Bonehead Weekly. This isn't the fun size version. Where am I at? Where are my clothes? What?
This wasn't fun nor sized.
No, there was the rides. What you said it'd be the ride size. You said it would fit, James.
And do not use this on your pacemaker, gentlemen.
Oh my God! Actually,
Good night,
we
everybody.
know somebody who got a pacemaker, so shout out to them. I won't say who on here, but I'll tell you all in a minute.
They
All right.
cannot use this. They cannot use it. It says not to.
All right. This has been Bonehead Weekly.